Soft, muted tones like the distant echo of a foghorn usher you into the seamier side of 19th century London. Allow your breathing to slow, your muscles to soften, and your mind to drift back through time to a world of narrow alleyways, soot-stained bricks, and the constant hum of human struggle. Tonight, we will walk through the dim corridors of Victorian slums, feeling each coarse stone beneath our feet and each echo of distant chatter in our ears. Over the next minutes, we will move gently through 4 distinct landscapes of London life. First, you will become a silent witness to daily existence in the overcrowded back-to-back houses, where every breath smells of coal smoke and every step risks colliding with another weary soul. In our second chapter, we will follow the measured footsteps of Florence Nightingale, a determined reformer whose lamp illuminated the darkest wards of the Crimean War and changed nursing forever. Next, we will wander the gaslit streets in search of Jack the Ripper, exploring the mysteries that gripped a city in fear and fascination. Finally, we will rise above the gutters to the gilded salons of Grosvenor Square, where silk-clad aristocrats danced off their woes in mirrored drawing rooms, revealing the chasm between gutter and gala. Tonight's narration is slow, steady, and unhurried, designed not to thrill, but to soothe. I will describe sights, sounds, and textures with gentle precision. The taste of water from a council cart, the rasp of factory machinery, the hush of a hushed parlor. Repetition will cradle you. Imagine yourself hauling scalding water at dawn. Imagine yourself counting each broken matchstick in a candlelit workshop. In this careful cadence, you may find your mind drifting, your eyelids growing heavy, your body melting into the comfort of your own bed. When you're ready, settle down, draw a slow breath, and let the streets of Victorian London unfold before you. How life in a Victorian slum really drained you. Dawn in the back-to-back houses. You awaken before sunrise in a single cramped room shared with half a dozen neighbors. The floorboards creak beneath straw-filled mattresses, pressed close together to conserve precious warmth. A single window, glazed in translucent horn, filters in the faintest gray light. The air is thick with the stench of open sewers. Just beyond the thin walls, waste seeps through cracked bricks into alleys below. You rise, joints stiff from the cold. There is no time to linger. Today, like every day, demands a small fortune of labor for a pittance of coin. You step barefoot onto the rough floorboards. A child, no older than 7, still sleeps beside you, cheek pressed to a rough blanket. His breathing is shallow, haunted by fever dreams of rats. You bend to lift him gently, knowing you must share your water ration to bathe his brow later. In the corner, a communal tap drips scalding water, its cast iron frame worn smooth by countless hands. You lift a battered tin cup, brace against the steam, and catch each hot drop. The water tastes of metal and smoke remnants of the coal fires that warm neighboring homes. With each sip, you steel yourself for the day ahead, feeling the weight of hunger press against your stomach. Child labor in match factories and sweatshops. By mid-morning, you arrive at the match factory, its low windows shuttered against prying eyes. Inside, dozens of children crouch at long wooden tables. Their fingertips are swollen, red-gray with phosphorus burns. You settle onto a creaking stool and pick through trays of match splints. Your task, to dip each one into a volatile paste of white phosphorus and glue, then roll it in powdered sulfur. The sulfur dust hangs in the air like a fine mist. Each breath leaves a scratch at the back of your throat. You work under the glare of a single oil lamp, its flame wavering in the draft that blows through every crack in the wall. Hours pass with only the ceaseless hiss of children's coughs and the soft snap of phosphorus snapping onto wood. Your fingers tremble as you lift another group of sticks. Each movement is precise. A moment's hesitation risks a foul-smelling chemical burn, yet you dare not stop. A day's wage depends on the number of trays completed, and missing a single tray could mean a ration of thin gruel instead of a small piece of bread. Coping with cholera outbreaks. Returning home at midday, you find the alley bustling with panicked neighbors. A cart from the London Board of Works grinds to a halt. Workers in stained smocks wheel out wooden barrels filled with drinking water. You join the queue, cradling your tin cup, waiting for a ladleful of council-certified water, your only safeguard against the dreaded cholera. Cholera arrives swiftly. Severe cramps, endless vomiting, a sudden collapse. No physicians care for the poor only speculative remedies and whispered prayers. You watch a neighbor lean against brick, her hand pressed to her sternum, eyes glazed. She whispers about a dead house around the corner, a crowded infirmary no one dares enter. Clutching your ration, you hurry home. A single drop of contaminated water could spell ruin. You add a pinch of chloride of lime, a government-issued microdose, hoping it will purify what you drink. Each sip carries the chill of fear. Will this be the day the fever finds you? Night terrors, gas lamps and scuttling rats. As dusk falls, the narrow alley darkens except for sputtering gas lamps. Their weak glow creates shifting pools of light and shadow. The walls, slick with coal dust, absorb heat, leaving the night air colder than you expected. Inside your single room, a candle fights against the gloom. Its smell is acrid, mingling with the ever-present odor of refuse. You lie awake on your lumpy mattress, listening to the click and scamper of rats moving through the rafters. Their claws tap, tap, tap like a mocking drumbeat. You imagine their whiskers brushing against your skin, their breath hot and fetid. Sleep comes in fits. You wake thrice, heart pounding, convinced the rat has nipped your toe. Each time, you force yourself to lie still, repeating a comforting phrase, "The rats cannot reach me here." The lamp holds firm. Only when the candle guttering to its last drop of wax does your breathing ease. Meager comforts, penny ice cream and ale in a smoky tavern. Before dawn, you steal out to a nearby tavern, its low sign swinging in the damp air. Inside, the smoky haze clings to your coat. A single ale mug, half filled with watered-down porter, sets you back a farthing. The taste is sour, but it warms your chest. Next door, a street vendor hawks penny ice cream crushed over chipped ice into a paper cone. You trade your last farthing for a scoop of vanilla-flavored slush. Each bite is cold relief against a throat still raw from sulfur dust and city smoke. You pause, gazing at flickering embers in the hearth, watching the steam curl from your breath. In that moment, among the tavern's low murmurs and the vendor's soft calling, you feel a flicker of respite, a brief reprieve from the drudgery of the day. Yet you know, as the first light tinges the sky, the cycle will begin again. Water hauling, match dipping, disease dodging, rat battling. Let your body soften, your muscles relax, and your mind drift beyond the narrow alleys. In the next chapter, we will follow the quiet courage of Florence Nightingale, as she transforms the world of nursing, still speaking with our measured tone, still guiding you gently toward rest. Florence Nightingale, Lady with the Lamp. A Quiet Rebellion. Imagine yourself in the hushed drawing room of a stately Victorian home, scent of polished mahogany and rose water lingering in the air. A young woman stands by a window, pale morning light streaming through lace curtains onto her crisp white gown. This is Florence Nightingale, only 22, yet already possessed by a quiet determination. She brushes back a strand of dark hair, gaze fixed on the cobblestone street below, where carriages thunder past on their way to Parliament. Her family expects her to marry well, to don society's ribbons and attend glittering balls. Yet in her heart she hears a different calling, the soft but insistent whisper of duty to the sick and the dying. Against family and convention. You can almost feel the weight of her mother's disapproval in the stiff click of porcelain teacups on saucers. Gentle objections echo through the drawing room. Nursing is no vocation for a gentlewoman, they murmur, yet Florence's resolve is steady. She slips from her silk slippers into sturdy leather boots, brushes the dust from her skirts, and steps out into a world where disease and poverty go hand in hand. Her first steps in nursing are in a dark, cramped London hospital for the poor. The corridor walls are stained with damp and soot, the air thick with the tang of antiseptic swabs and unwashed bodies. You walk beside her as she lifts lids from metal basins, tenderly washing a child's scraped knee with water warmed over a spirit lamp. Her hands are steady, her voice soft as she reassures frightened patients, a silent promise that someone cares. The Call of Crimea. In 1854, war drums sound far from London. Reports arrive of British soldiers dying not only from bullets, but from cold dysentery, an infection in makeshift hospitals near the Black Sea. Parliament offers Nightingale the chance to lead a small team of nurses to Scutari. You can feel her careful breath as she gathers supplies, simple woolen shawls, carbolic acid solutions, bandages rolled with meticulous precision. As the steamship cuts through choppy waves, salt spray drifts over the deck. Nightingale stands at the rail, cloak drawn tight, horizon wide and uncertain before her. You sense her steadiness, each beat of her heart a vow to bring order and cleanliness to chaos. The wind whips her hood. You imagine the faint creak of canvas, the murmur of sailors' prayers against storm clouds gathering overhead. Muddy wards and makeshift hygiene. Arriving at the barrack hospital in Scutari, you step through swinging doors into a scene of muted desperation. Wooden wards stretch as far as the eye can see, filled with rows of cots and hammocks. The floor is muddy soldiers' boots tracking black water inside, and a sharp chill clings to the air. Nightingale's first act is to muster her small team. By lantern light, she directs the relocation of cots closer to the hearth, orders buckets of clean water for washing, and sets up a makeshift laundry. You stand beside her as she tilts a patient's head back, cleaning crusted wounds with gentle pressure, whispering words of calm. You are not forgotten. We are here. The scent of carbolic acid blends with the musk of unwashed wool. You hear the rasp of bandages being torn, the low murmur of fevered men yearning for water, the distant chant of a chaplain offering prayers through a smoky brazier. Nightingale moves among them with lantern in hand, her silhouette a beacon of hope. Charting mortality, the birth of evidence-based care, as weeks pass, Nightingale retreats to a small annex, poring over charts and tallies. You imagine her pen scratching on parchment, each stroke precise, each number a testament to lives saved or lost. She records mortality rates, cross-references cases of infection with cleanliness routines, and formulates guidelines that will become the first data-driven recommendations for hospital design. The lamplight flickers over her notes, columns of numbers, neat graphs inked by hand. Patient names scroll down the page, alongside causes of death, diarrhea, gangrene, typhoid. Yet in each column she sees more than statistics. Each entry a person, a story, a life, and each number a call to do better. Battle for reform at home. Returning to England in 1856, Nightingale carries her charts like a banner. You can almost feel the echo of her steps in Parliament's corridors, each footfall deliberate, each knock on a minister's door a quiet assertion of fact over prejudice. She presents her findings to a parliamentary commission, voice calm but unwavering. Clean wards reduce death rates by nearly 2/3. Ministers murmur. Some scrawl notes, others shift uncomfortably in leather chairs. Yet her data cannot be denied. You sense the shift in temperature-heated debate giving way to reluctant acceptance. Soon, plans for new hospital pavilions, ventilated wards, and trained nursing staff are underway. Enduring impact and a gentle legacy. In her later years, Nightingale resides in comfortable rooms overlooking a quiet garden. You sit beside her as she writes letters to nursing schools across the empire, advising on everything from nurse training to sanitation standards. Though her body is frail, her mind remains keen, each suggestion carefully phrased, each recommendation steeped in years of first-hand care. Picture her in the soft glow of a late afternoon sun, a shawl over her shoulders, pen poised above stationery, embossed with her family crest. The distant toll of church bells marks each hour, but her rhythm is steady, ever onward, ever mindful of those who suffer. Allow the image of Nightingale's quiet strength to settle around you like a soft shawl against a chill. Breathe deeply, knowing you rest in a world shaped by her dedication. When you're ready to continue, we will step into the gaslit mystery of Whitechapel. The mystery of the Whitechapel murders. Entering fog-shrouded streets. Imagine yourself on a narrow cobblestone lane in Whitechapel, just after dusk. A thick fog rolls in from the Thames, curling around gas lamps and muffling the steps of passers-by. The air is cool, damp, and tinged with coal smoke. You draw your cloak tighter, the coarse wool brushing against your cheek, as you strain to hear the soft drip of distant water and the faint clang of a factory gate closing for the night. The street smells of refuse, overturned barrels, alleyway muck, and the occasional whiff of something fouled by damp. Rats scurry through shadows, their red eyes catching the lamplight before they vanish. Imagine yourself pausing under a flickering lamp, peering into the haze, senses alert to every creak of timber and every muted footfall, uncertain if the next sound will be a stray carriage wheel or something more ominous. First killings and public panic. On August 31st, 1888, over a century ago, a woman named Mary Nichols was found in Bucks Row. Her life drained in a brutal fashion that shocked even hardened policemen. You follow the worn, muddy path to that spot. Imagine the scene by dawn's gray light, the body laying across uneven stones, her garments askew, a faint pool of dark staining the cobbles. Officers whisper among themselves, their breath steaming in the chill as they cordon off the area with coarse rope. Soon, more bodies appear. Annie Chapman in Hanbury Street, Elizabeth Stride in Dutfield's Yard, Catherine Eddowes in Mitre Square, and Mary Jane Kelly in Miller's Court. Each discovery sends ripples of dread through the East End. Newspapers scramble to report Jack the Ripper, a name coined by a taunting letter sent to the press. You imagine headlines scrawled in penny dreadful broadsides, horror in the hoods. Ripper strikes again. Every new report fans the flames of panic, candlelit windows closing earlier, shuttered houses bolting doors against the unknown predator in their midst. Forensic limitations of the era. Step inside a rudimentary mortuary tent pitched at night in an empty lot. A single lantern dangles from a nail in the canvas roof, casting wavering circles of light over a wooden table. You stand beside a coroner clad in a topcoat and bowler hat, peering at his tools. Simple scalpels, a mason's chisel to open coffins, a battered magnifying glass. There are no fingerprints yet, no blood pattern analysis, only careful measurements, sketches and crude photography that captures each victim's position. Notice the coroner's voice, low and steady, describing a wound's depth, the angle of a blade's cut, the sheen of fresh blood. He places a metal ruler alongside a gash in the victim's neck, marking distances with chalk. You feel the chill of metal against your fingertips as you hold each instrument, knowing these tools probe a mystery, but offer few answers. Back in Whitechapel's fog, the constable's notebooks are thick with witness statements, many conflicting, most vague. A man saw a figure in a dark coat. A woman heard a scream but couldn't see beyond swirling mist. Each account is precious, yet unreliable. You imagine the frustration as officers compare notes by lantern light, shaking their heads at half-remembered details and shifting timelines. Suspect gallery, from butchers to aristocrats. Over time, a gallery of suspects emerges. You stand in a butcher's shop on Whitechapel Road, inhaling the coppery scent of fresh meat. The proprietor, wiping his cleaver on a rag, raises an eyebrow at rumors linking his trade to the Ripper's precise incisions. "I've been slicing rump steaks since dawn," he says, voice low. "Haven't killed anyone beyond the animals." Next, imagine a fashionable townhouse in Belgravia where an aristocratic gentleman paces lofty corridors. Some whisper of secret passages and clandestine visits to the East End. You picture him leaning over a marble desk, reading sensationalist letters from the press, his white-gloved hand crumpling the paper in frustration. Could privilege mask guilt? The idea tantalizes the public imagination, but evidence remains elusive. In a dim corner of Whitechapel, a trembling immigrant sweeps the steps of a lodging house. His accent marks him as foreign, fueling xenophobic rumors. Neighbors glare, suspicion twisting their voices. You watch as he bows his head, clutching a battered suitcase, feeling the weight of unspoken accusations more crushing than any physical restraint. Public frenzy and penny dreadful sensationalism. By lantern light in cramped print shops, compositors rush to set type for penny dreadful pamphlets. Bold headlines promise lurid details. Ripper's victims found in pool of blood. He strikes a new Middleborough horror. The pages overflow with embellished accounts, each more sensational than the last. You feel the heat of the press, the clatter of the steam-driven platen, and the scent of ink mingling with the cold air. And coffee-stained tear sheets, illustrators sketch grotesque interpretations, a hooded figure poised above a prone woman, a glinting blade raised in midair. These images, though inaccurate, travel farther than official reports, reaching into parlors and pubs, stoking fear like dry tinder. You sip a cup of bitter tea in a smoky tavern, listening to whispered rumors over clinking glasses. They say he writes to the police. No one is safe in these streets. Each story, each retelling, becomes part of the collective nightmare. Letters to Dear Boss and the Unsolved Legacy. One morning, a police clerk reads aloud a letter addressed Dear Boss, written in red-inked calligraphy. The writer claims to be the murderer, signing off as Jack the Ripper and ridiculing the authorities for their failures. You take the pen from his trembling hand, tracing each loop of the letters. Below the signature, a dried stain, perhaps real blood, perhaps red ink adds chilling authenticity. People flock to the newsstands, eager to see every word. You imagine the letter pinned above a pub fireplace, guests leaning in to read lines that alternate between boastful taunts and macabre humor. I saved some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle. The authenticity spurs copycats, imitation letters that muddy the investigation further. Despite dozens of suspects, hundreds of pages of testimony, and endless speculation, no one is ever arrested. The Ripper vanishes as suddenly as he appeared, leaving behind a legacy that haunts London's alleys to this day. You pause at the threshold of an empty Ten Bells pub, where dozens once gathered to share theories. The room is silent now, only your own breath, and the echo of thunder from a distant storm. Reflections on fear, mystery, and modern resonance. As dawn's pale light begins to dissipate the fog, consider the paradox of this case. A sidious fear brought together communities in both unity and suspicion. A mystery that revealed societal fractures and the limits of Victorian policing. You stand in Whitechapel's quiet after the storm-discarded newspapers damp on the ground. A stray cat slinking between barrels, the faint ring of a distant church bell. Imagine yourself releasing the weight of unanswered questions, letting the echo of Jack the Ripper fade like a whispered legend. Hold on to the knowledge that, though the streets once trembled under fear, they now lie peaceful beneath modern lights. Let the hush of Whitechapel's fog settle over you, soft and distant. Breathe in the cool air of mystery, then exhale any lingering tension. When you're ready, we will rise from the gutters to the gilded ballrooms of Grosvenor Square. After dinner decadence, aristocratic evenings at Grosvenor Square ascending to elegance. Imagine stepping through heavy carved double doors into a sprawling townhouse on Grosvenor Square. The cobblestones outside give way to polished mahogany floors that gleam under lantern light. A hush falls over you as you cross a threshold where servants bow discreetly, offering your coat to a valet whose white gloves brush your sleeve. The corridor is lined with oil paintings and ornate gilt frames, portraits of ancestors in velvet coats, their gazes stern yet dignified. You sense a shift. The rough edges of everyday London fall away, replaced by the meticulous order of aristocratic life. Drawing rooms aglow with gaslight. You step into the grand drawing room, where slender gas lamps line the walls in silver sconces. Their warm glow softens polished crystal chandeliers overhead, casting prismatic sparks across silk-draped furniture. The scent of beeswax polish mingles with the faint hint of rosewater traces of last evening as floral arrangements. Plush carpets muffle your footsteps. Each footfall is a muted promise of comfort. You sink into a velvet settee, its cushions enveloping you like a gentle embrace. Across the room, ladies and gentlemen converse in measured tones. You catch fragments of discussion, the latest West End play, the prince's carriage schedule, political whispers, and hushed syllables. A string quartet nestled in a corner begins a lilting waltz off chords drifting through the air like drifting petals. The harmony is gracious, unhurried. Each bow stroke and plucked string a note in an evening lullaby. Women in corsets, card games, and courtly etiquette. Beside a low tea table, a group of ladies settle into carved chairs. Their gowns layers of fine muslin and satin cascade to the floor in sweeping folds. Stays cinch their waists, prompting a steady, dignified posture. One lady fans herself slowly with a lace fan, the sigh of paper against wood a delicate percussion. They play whist, a card game of quiet strategy. You imagine the smooth cards cupped in tiny gloved hands. Each turn reveals a measured breath. Will she play the queen or hold back? Conversation drifts around the table. A compliment on ribbon chittens imported from Paris, a remark on the latest fashion's hemline. The ladies trade soft laughter, their voices a soothing murmur beneath the grand piano's occasional accent. Standing nearby, you sense the intricate dance of etiquette, which foot to place forward when greeting a newcomer, which phrase to utter when offering tea, how to exchange pleasantries without straying into politics. Every gesture, every graceful tilt of head, every discreet curtsy is a thread in the tapestry of aristocratic ritual, binding the participants in a shared language of refinement. Men in tailcoats, salon politics, and artistic patronage. In a paneled corner, a circle of gentlemen clusters around a mahogany card table. Their tailcoats, a deep midnight blue flare slightly as they lean forward, elbows on the table's edge. The men sip claret from cut glass tumblers, the ruby liquid catching lamplight like captured sunset. They speak of the latest debates in the House of Commons, tariff reform, colonial affairs, railway expansion. A fellow leans back to stroke his sideburns thoughtfully. Another adjusts his starched linen cravat before leaning in to make a point. Nearby, an art patron recounts a recent visit to an exhibition by pre-Raphaelite painters, describing each canvas with reverence for color and symbolism. You feel the resonance of power in each carefully chosen word. Here, influence is brokered over cards and wine, alliances formed through a shared appreciation of literature and landscape painting. Each discussion is a pliable negotiation, soft-voiced yet consequential, shaping the era's cultural and political currents without ever raising a shout. Musical soirées, pianists, string quartets, and whispered intrigues. As the clock's hands approach 9, the quartet gives way to a solo pianist. You glide toward the instrument, its ivory keys polished to a muted sheen. The pianist's fingers hover before pressing a slow, resonant chord. Melody unfolds, a nocturne of delicate arpeggios, each note a droplet in a fountain of sound. In the hush, you hear the quiet rustle of brocade skirts, the occasional draw of a gentleman's glove as he turns a page in an anthology of romantic poetry. Eye contact passes between two guests, a flicker of recognition so slight it might have been imagined. Yet in this world of whispers, such glances carry profound import and unspoken remark on lineage, on future prospects. The music drifts into fugue, interwoven voices rising and falling like gentle tides. You sense an invitation not only to listen, but to reflect, to let each phrase guide your thoughts inward. The performance becomes a private conversation between melody and mind, offering a stillness that envelops you. Hidden scandals, glittering facada versus gambling debts. Beyond the velvet ropes of polite company lies a quieter chamber accessible only by a servantless discreet knock. You find yourself in a small anteroom, its walls lined with family portraits. A billiard table stands under a shaded lamp, cue sticks resting in a corner. Here, some gentlemen escape the main event to settle wagers on games of chance. You hear the muted thud of ivory balls on green baize, the low murmur of bets placed in clipped tones. The stakes are high: estates, titles, political favors. You slip behind a heavy curtain to observe. A viscount counts gold sovereigns beneath his sleeve, while his opponent, an upstart financier, fingers a letter embossed with the lender's crest. Though the drawing room above exudes tranquility, this secluded game reveals a darker undercurrent where fortunes shift with the roll of a ball and reputations hinge on whispered promises. The chandelier's crystals tinkle above, as if applauding yet also mocking the fragile nature of aristocratic stability. Farewell amid lantern glows. As the evening wanes, guests begin to drift toward the grand staircase. Soft footsteps ascend and descend. Muffled thanks are offered to the hostess in the adjoining antechamber. The air grows cooler, and the glow of gas lamps deepens shadows in hallway alcoves. A servant offers you a final glass of port-rich, warming, and tinted like melted garnets. You accept the glass, feeling its warmth seep into your fingers. In the distance, a clock chimes 11:30, its notes echoing through the silent stairwell. You step back into the front hall, its marble floor cool beneath your slippers. The valet reappears to drape your cloak around your shoulders. You exchange a polite nod, stepping through the carved doors back onto the quiet street. Allow the hushed elegance of Grosvenor Square to linger in your mind like motifs of a nocturne. Feel the resonance of silk and candlelight dissolve into calm. When you're ready, we will draw our journey to a gentle close. From gutter to gilded halls and home, tonight we have walked London's underbelly and its highest drawing rooms, tracing the arc of human experience across slum and salon. You felt the grate of back-to-back chords beneath your feet, the sting of industrial fumes on your lungs, and the tremor of fear echoing through fog-laden alleys. You stood with Florence Nightingale as she turned lantern light into a beacon of hope, saw the fervor of pressmen chasing Jack the Ripper through gaslit streets, and breathed in the perfumed calm of Grosvenor Square's grand soirées. Each segment has carried its own rhythm, the beat of broken matchsticks, the measured scratch of a quill across parchment, the hush of investigative footfalls on damp cobbles, and the gentle lilt of a string quartet. As you drift, remember these textures: the rough straw mattress, the glow of an oil lamp, the distant toll of a church bell, the warmth of a final glass of port. Allow the contrasts, dirt and decadence, fear and reform, mystery and ritual, to blend into a single tapestry of calm. The world of Victorian London, with all its grit and grandeur, now recedes. You rest in a more forgiving era, in a room warmed not by coal smoke, but by the quiet comfort of your bed. Take a slow, deep breath. Feel the tension in your shoulders soften, your eyelids grow heavy. With each exhale, release the cobbles, the lanterns, the silken gowns, letting them dissolve into memory. Good night. May the city's shadows fall gently around you, guiding you into the sweetest of dreams.